Have you ever gazed upon a map of Indonesia and wondered why, in the very heart of the massive Lake Toba, there lies an island called Samasia? The local legends say that this magnificent lake wasn't just formed by nature's hand, but was born from the tears and unstoppable fury of a wife who was betrayed by a sacred promise made by her own husband. This is the story of the origin of Lake Toba. Long, long ago, nestled in a lush, fertile valley in the Batok land of North Sumatra, there lived a young farmer named Toba. He was a simple man, known for his hard work and honesty. But despite his virtues, he was profoundly lonely. Each day he toiled in his fields, his only companions the sun, the soil, and the wind. One afternoon, hoping for a good catch for his supper, Toba went down to the river that snaked through the valley. He cast his fishing line into the clear, flowing water and waited patiently as he had done countless times before. But this time was different. Suddenly, his line went taut with an incredible force, splash. Something enormous and powerful was on the hook, pulling with a strength he'd never felt before. Bracing himself, Toba summoned all his might. He pulled and reeled, his muscles straining, fighting against the unseen creature in the depths. Finally, with one last mighty heave, he dragged his catch onto the riverbank, and what he saw made him gasp in astonishment. It was no ordinary fish. It was a magnificent golden carp, its scales shimmering and glittering in the sunlight as if they were made of pure gold. It was the most beautiful creature he had ever laid eyes on. Carefully, Toba lifted the fish and carried it home, his heart pounding with a mix of wonder and excitement. He placed it gently in a basin of water, intending to cook it. But as he turned to prepare his fire, a strange and magical light filled his small hut. When he looked back, the golden fish was gone. In its place stood a woman of breathtaking beauty, her long hair cascading down her back like a silken waterfall, her eyes as deep and clear as the river itself. The woman spoke, her voice as gentle as the rustling leaves. "Do not be afraid, kind Toba," she said. "I am a princess who was cursed to live as a fish. By catching me and bringing me here, you have broken the spell. I am eternally grateful to you." Toba was speechless, utterly captivated by her grace. "To repay your kindness," she continued, "I will become your wife if you will have me. But you must swear a solemn oath. You must never, ever reveal to anyone that I was once a fish. If you break this promise, a terrible catastrophe will befall us." Lost in her beauty and overcome with joy at the thought of no longer being alone, Toba agreed without a moment's hesitation. "I swear," he declared, his voice filled with conviction. "I will take this secret to my grave." And so, Toba and the princess were married. Their small hut was filled with laughter and happiness. Toba had never felt such contentment, and his wife proved to be a loving and devoted partner. Their love blossomed, and soon their joy was multiplied. They were blessed with a son, a handsome boy they named Sat. Samasir grew into a cheerful and healthy child, but he had one flaw. He was incredibly lazy and had an insatiable appetite. He preferred playing all day to helping his parents. One sunny afternoon, his mother had just finished preparing a delicious lunch for Toba, who was working tirelessly in their distant fields. "Samasea, my dear," she said, handing him the basket. "Please take this food to your father. He has been working since dawn and must be very hungry." Samasea reluctantly took the basket and started on the long walk to the fields. The sun was hot, and the aroma wafting from the basket was too tempting for the hungry boy to resist. He thought to himself, "Father has a big portion. He won't mind if I just take a little bite." But one bite turned into another, and then another. By the time he reached the fields, Samasea had eaten almost all of the food, leaving only a few scraps of rice and bone for his father. Toba, exhausted and drenched in sweat, gratefully took the basket from his son. But when he opened it, his face darkened with anger. He saw the meager remains of what was supposed to be his fulfilling meal. All his hard work, his aching muscles, his hunger, it all boiled over into a blind rage. He glared at Samasea, his voice booming across the field. "Samasea, you lazy, good-for-nothing boy. Is this how you repay my hard work? You have no gratitude. You are truly the son of a fish." The moment the words left his lips, a deafening silence fell over the valley. The sky, once clear and blue, instantly turned a menacing shade of grey. Thunder rumbled ominously in the distance. Toba froze, the colour draining from his face as he realised what he had done. He had broken his sacred vow. Back in their hut, his wife felt a sharp pain in her heart, as if she had been struck by lightning. The promise was broken. She dropped the pestle she was using to pound rice and looked up at the darkening sky, tears streaming down her face. She knew her time as a human was over, so she whispered to the wind, her voice trembling with sorrow and betrayal. "You have forgotten your promise, Toba." A tremendous clap of thunder shattered the air, and the ground began to tremble violently. The wind howled like a furious beast, tearing at the trees and their small hut. Then, from the very spot where his wife had once stood as a fish, and from every crack that appeared in the earth, water began to gush out with unstoppable force. It was as if the entire earth was weeping. Samasea's mother ran towards the river, her heart broken. Toba, realizing the horrifying consequences of his anger, chased after her, screaming apologies, begging for her forgiveness. But it was too late. As she reached the river's edge, she turned to him one last time. "You broke your promise, Toba," she cried, her voice carried away by the roaring gale. "The curse cannot be undone." With those final words, she leaped into the swirling waters and transformed back into the magnificent golden fish, disappearing into the depths forever. Toba let out a cry of pure anguish, but the water kept rising. It surged from the ground, flooding the fields, swallowing their home, and consuming the entire valley. In a desperate panic, Toba grabbed his son Samasea and scrambled to the highest hill he could find, hoping to escape the deluge. But the water was relentless. It rose higher and higher until the entire valley was submerged, swallowing everything including Toba. When the cataclysm finally ended and the waters settled, a vast, serene lake had formed where the valley once stood, and the very top of the hill where Toba had made his last stand with his son remained above the water, forming an island in the center of the Great Lake. Today, that vast body of water is known as Lake Toba, and the island in its heart is called Samosir Island. This breathtaking wonder of nature stands as a timeless and solemn reminder that a promise is sacred. One broken word, one forgotten vow, can change the world forever. It teaches us to guard our words, to honor our commitments, and to cherish the trust others place in us before it's too late. Thank you for joining me on this journey into legend. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tales from around the world. See you next time.